everyone, welcome back to my virtual book club. As you remember, we're talking about The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And chapter 5 was about the responsibilities of business revised. I thought the chapter was really interesting because they talked about the theory of shareholder supremacy. I know, corporate attorney being interested in shareholder supremacy, but it was interesting. And he was talking about how this theory kind of came out in 1970s, where an economist named Milton Friedman said the primary purpose of a company is to maximize shareholder profits, usually short-term shareholder profits. And Sinek says that that isn't a good approach for most businesses, possibly all businesses. And one way he points it out is that it hasn't always been that that's what people believed the purpose of a company should be. Friedman brought this up in 1970. So before that, what did people think? And there's a name that perhaps you've heard of, Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. If you remember from your high school civics classes, he's the one who had this theory about the invisible hand of capitalism. And his theory was that you put your customers' interests first, not the shareholders. And a company's best interests are served and self-interest are served by trying to meet the demands of the customer. So if they're demanding the highest quality stuff, you're going to produce the highest quality stuff, and then the people are going to come to you and buy your stuff, and that's how you're going to be a successful business. If they're asking for cheap, if they're asking for fast, you're meeting those demands, and those clients are coming to you as opposed to somebody else. And so the difference of if you're looking at it from a shareholder's view or a customer's view, you can have it be looking at, if you have a shareholder that's only looking for short-term profits, they might have a mindset more like a renter than an owner. And so they got what they want out of it, and then they got out, right? After 3 or 4 years, their stock was here, it went to here, they made their money, they're out of here. And they may have made a lot of decisions along that way, so that way they could get that 5x, 10x, whatever x return that maybe wasn't good for long-term health of the company. And so it's about maximizing that short-term profit rather than long-term strength. And when you do things like that, you can create an imbalance in companies. And that imbalance comes where you have customers and employees and even other shareholders that are feeling that they aren't getting rewarded or part of the wealth that they helped build. And when you have an imbalance, you often have corrections. And corrections can be really sudden. They can be really not violent, but disturbing, right? It perturbs everything. And so there's better ways to have companies run for long term if your customers and your employees, as well as your shareholders, feel like they're sharing in the wealth that they're helping create. And so how do you do that? That's a really easy question, a really thing to be like, yeah, you should, but how? And so Sinek came up with some ideas. Some of the ideas are that you have to advance a purpose, right? Have your just cause. Offer the ability that life and work is more than about making money. Like, what are you doing beyond just putting money in the account? Another thing is to protect your people. So your people aren't just your employees, aren't just your shareholders, but those who work for you, those who buy from you, and those who support your community around you. And so figure out a way to keep them going and protect those. And then, of course, you are a business, right? So you should generate a profit. And so you need to generate profit so you remain viable, so you can do the other two things. The point of this isn't all to create nonprofits. It's to create a viable long-term business. And maybe by doing so isn't always how do we get the most money in the short term to the shareholders. And so I thought that was a good way of thinking about it, and frankly can go against some really long held in, like, it's been 50 years since Friedman, but not long held in the general scheme of economy, but very deeply held beliefs about shareholder supremacy. So really interesting for us corporate attorneys trying to figure out how to be business people and when it makes sense. Thanks all. Have a great day.